The wrapping paper was beautiful silver with tiny roses scattered across it. Zoe ran her fingers over the delicate pattern, smiling as she sat at the dining room table surrounded by Ryan's family. It was her 30th birthday, and his mother Patricia had insisted on celebrating at their family estate. "Go ahead, dear. Open it," Patricia said, her voice carrying that fake sweetness Zoe had grown tired of over the past 5 years of marriage. The dining room fell silent. Ryan's father Harold stopped cutting his steak. His sister Rachel paused mid-sip of her wine. Even the staff seemed to freeze in the doorway. Something felt wrong, but Zoe couldn't place it. She tore away the paper carefully, revealing a manila envelope underneath. Her heart started beating faster. This wasn't a birthday gift. The weight was all wrong, and there was something official about the way it felt in her hands. "What is this?" Zoe asked, looking up at Patricia, whose lips were curved in what could barely be called a smile. "Just open it, sweetheart," Patricia replied, but her eyes were cold as ice. Zoe's hands shook as she opened the envelope. The first thing she saw made her blood run cold: petition for dissolution of marriage. The words swam before her eyes as she stared at the legal document. At the bottom, she saw Ryan's signature, bold and confident, as if he'd signed it without a second thought. "What is this?" she whispered again, but louder this time. Her voice cracked on the last word. Ryan cleared his throat and looked everywhere except at her face. "Zoe, we need to talk. You signed divorce papers? On my birthday? And gave them to me as a gift." The words came out in a rush, disbelief making her voice higher than usual. Patricia leaned back in her chair, looking pleased with herself. "Well, dear, we thought it was time to make things official. Ryan's been unhappy for quite some time now." The room spun around Zoe. She gripped the edge of the table to steady herself. "Unhappy? Ryan, we never even talked about being unhappy. We were planning our trip to Italy next month. We just bought new furniture for the living room last week." "Those were your plans," Ryan said finally, his voice flat and emotionless. "I never wanted any of that stuff." Zoe stared at her husband of 5 years. The man she'd met in college, who used to write her poems and bring her coffee every morning during finals week. The man who cried when she walked down the aisle. The man who promised to love her forever. "I don't understand," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Rachel, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "Ryan, this is really messed up. Even for our family." "Stay out of it, Rachel," Patricia snapped. "This is between Ryan and his wife." "Soon-to-be ex-wife," Ryan added, and those 4 words hit Zoe like a slap across the face. She looked around the table at these people she'd considered family for years. Harold wouldn't meet her eyes. Rachel looked uncomfortable but stayed quiet. Patricia looked triumphant. And Ryan looked like a stranger. "There's someone else, isn't there?" Zoe asked, though she already knew the answer from the guilty look that flashed across Ryan's face. "That's not what this is about," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Who is she?" Zoe demanded, standing up so fast her chair fell backward with a crash. Patricia smiled that cold smile again. "Her name is Brittany. She works at Ryan's office. Such a lovely girl. Much more suitable for our family." The words hit Zoe like a physical blow. She felt like she couldn't breathe. "Your secretary? Ryan, your secretary?" "She understands me," Ryan said defensively. "She supports my goals and doesn't question every decision I make." Zoe felt tears burning behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not here. Not in front of these people who had just destroyed her life like it was nothing. "How long?" she asked. "That doesn't matter now," Ryan replied. "How long?" she repeated, her voice stronger this time. Patricia answered for him. "About 8 months. They make a wonderful couple." 8 months. Zoe thought back to all the late nights Ryan had claimed to be working. All the business trips that seemed to pop up suddenly. All the times he'd been distant and distracted. She'd blamed herself, thinking she wasn't being supportive enough of his career. "I need to go," Zoe said, grabbing her purse from the sideboard. "Zoe, wait," Harold finally spoke up. "Maybe we should all take a breath and—" "No," Zoe cut him off. "There's nothing to discuss. You've all made it very clear how you feel." She walked toward the door, her legs feeling unsteady beneath her. Behind her, she heard Patricia say, "Well, that went better than expected." The casual cruelty of those words made something inside Zoe snap. She turned around and for the first time that evening she smiled. "You know what, Patricia? You're absolutely right. This did go better than expected. Because now I know exactly who I'm dealing with." With that, she walked out of the house where she'd spent countless holidays and family dinners, leaving behind the life she'd built and the people she'd trusted. But as she got into her car, she wasn't thinking about crying or begging Ryan to reconsider. She was thinking about revenge. Zoe sat in her car outside the estate for 20 minutes, her hands gripping the steering wheel so tight her knuckles turned white. The divorce papers lay on the passenger seat like a venomous snake, waiting to strike again every time she glanced at them. When she finally drove home to the house she shared with Ryan, her mind was racing. 8 months. Patricia had said 8 months. That meant the affair started right around the time Ryan got promoted to senior partner at his father's law firm. The house felt different when she walked in. Everything looked the same: her plants by the windows, their wedding photos on the mantel, the throw pillows she'd spent weeks picking out, but it all felt like a lie now. How had she been living in this house, sleeping next to Ryan, planning their future, while he was living a completely different life? Zoe went straight to Ryan's home office. She'd never gone through his things before because she trusted him. That trust had been her mistake. His desk drawers were locked, but Zoe knew he kept a spare key in the kitchen junk drawer. Her hands shook as she unlocked the first drawer. Inside, she found credit card statements she'd never seen before. Ryan had opened accounts in only his name, and the charges made her stomach turn. Expensive dinners at restaurants they'd never been to together. Hotel rooms during times when Ryan claimed to be working late at the office. Jewelry purchases from stores she'd never heard of. Thousands of dollars spent on another woman while Zoe had been clipping coupons and buying generic groceries to save money. In the second drawer she found something even worse: printed emails between Ryan and Brittany. The messages were disgusting, full of intimate details and plans for their future together. But what made Zoe's blood boil was reading Ryan's complaints about her. "She's so boring," one message read. "All she wants to do is stay home and watch movies. Brittany, you understand what I need. You make me feel alive again." Another message was even crueler: "My mother was right about Zoe from the beginning. She's not the right kind of woman for our family. She doesn't fit in with our social circle." Zoe had to stop reading. She ran to the bathroom and threw up, her body rejecting the poison of Ryan's words. When she was done, she splashed cold water on her face and looked at herself in the mirror. Her reflection showed a woman she barely recognized. Her dark brown eyes, usually bright and full of life, looked hollow. Her smooth brown skin was pale with shock. But as she stared at herself, something shifted. The hurt in her eyes slowly transformed into something harder. She went back to the office and kept searching. In the bottom drawer she found something that made her pause: financial documents that didn't make sense. Bank statements showing transfers of large amounts of money to accounts she didn't recognize. Investment documents with signatures that looked forged. Zoe spread the papers across Ryan's desk. She'd always been good with numbers, it's why she worked as an accountant at a small firm downtown. But these numbers told a story that made her sick. Ryan had been moving money out of their joint accounts and into private accounts. He'd also been taking money from somewhere else. The amounts were too large to be coming from just his salary. The dates on the transfers matched up with the credit card charges for his affair. Her phone buzzed with a text message. It was from Ryan: "I'm staying at a hotel tonight. We'll talk tomorrow when you've had time to process everything." Zoe stared at the message. He was probably with Brittany right now, celebrating the successful destruction of their marriage. The thought made her angrier than she'd ever been in her life. She texted back, "Don't bother coming home. I'll pack your things." But she had no intention of packing anything for Ryan. Instead, she spent the rest of the night making copies of every document she'd found. She photographed the emails, the bank statements, the credit card bills, and the financial documents that didn't add up. By sunrise, Zoe had built a file that painted a clear picture. Ryan had been stealing from someone to fund his affair, lying to everyone including her, and planning to leave her with nothing while he started a new life with Brittany and his family's blessing. As she made her morning coffee, Zoe thought about Patricia's cruel smile the night before. The woman had enjoyed destroying her. She'd taken pleasure in delivering those divorce papers like a gift, knowing it would humiliate Zoe in front of the whole family. But Patricia had made one crucial mistake. She'd underestimated Zoe. Zoe had spent 5 years being the perfect daughter-in-law. She'd attended every family event, remembered everyone's birthdays, helped with charity committees, and smiled through countless passive-aggressive comments. She knew where all the bodies were buried in that family. And now she was going to use that knowledge. Her phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. The caller ID showed her best friend Tasha's name. "Girl, how was the birthday dinner?" Tasha asked cheerfully. "Did Ryan's family actually manage to be nice to you for once?" Zoe took a deep breath. "Tasha, I need you to come over. And bring a bottle of wine. The good stuff. What happened? Ryan's been cheating on me for 8 months, and his mother gave me divorce papers as a birthday gift. The silence on the other end of the line stretched for so long that Zoe thought the call had dropped. Finally, Tasha spoke and her voice was deadly calm. I'll be there in 20 minutes. And Zoe? We're not just having wine. We're planning war. Tasha arrived with 2 bottles of wine and a fire in her eyes that matched Zoe's growing anger. She was a tall woman with natural hair pulled into a high bun and the kind of presence that commanded attention wherever she went. As a successful real estate agent, she knew how to read people and situations quickly. Show me everything, Tasha said, setting the wine on the kitchen counter. Zoe spread all the documents across the dining room table where, just hours before, her life had been destroyed. Tasha studied each paper carefully, her expression growing darker with every page. This man has been robbing you blind, Tasha said finally. And these financial records, Zoe, I think he's stealing from his family's firm. That's what I thought too. But I can't prove it yet. We need to get you a lawyer. A good one. Not someone connected to his family's firm. Before Zoe could respond, she heard Ryan's key in the front door. Both women turned toward the sound, and Zoe felt her heart start racing. She wasn't ready for this confrontation, but it was happening whether she wanted it or not. Ryan walked into the dining room and stopped short when he saw all the papers spread across the table. His face went pale, then red with anger. What the hell do you think you're doing going through my private things? He demanded. Your private things? Zoe stood up slowly. We're married, Ryan. Or did you forget that between hotel rooms with Brittany? Don't bring her into this. This is between you and me. Tasha laughed, but there was no humor in it. Oh no, sweetheart. Brittany is very much part of this. Just like your mama who thought it would be cute to hand out divorce papers at a birthday dinner. Ryan turned his attention to Tasha. This has nothing to do with you. You need to leave. I'm not going anywhere, Tasha replied, crossing her arms. Zoe is my best friend, and I'm going to make sure she doesn't get steamrolled by you and your trashy family. Watch your mouth when you talk about my family, Ryan snapped. Or what? Tasha stepped forward. You'll have your mother write me a strongly worded letter? Zoe held up her hand before the argument could escalate further. Stop. Both of you. She looked directly at Ryan. We need to talk. Alone. Tasha looked like she wanted to argue, but Zoe shook her head. It's okay. I need to hear what he has to say. I'll be in the kitchen, Tasha said. Holler if you need me to throw him out. When they were alone, Ryan sat down heavily in one of the dining room chairs. For a moment, he looked like the man Zoe had married, tired and confused instead of cold and distant. Why? Zoe asked simply. That's all I want to know. Why? Ryan ran his hands through his hair. You wouldn't understand. Try me. You're not like us, Zoe. You never were. My family has a certain way of life, certain expectations. You never fit into that world. The words stung, but Zoe kept her voice steady. I tried to fit in. For 5 years I tried. I know you tried. But trying isn't the same as belonging. Brittany understands our world. She knows what's expected of a partner in a family like mine. What's expected? You mean like helping you steal money? Ryan's head snapped up. I'm not stealing anything. That money is mine. I earned it. From where? Your salary doesn't cover these expenses. Zoe pointed to the credit card statements. I get bonuses, performance incentives. Things you wouldn't understand because you work at that little accounting firm. The condescension in his voice made Zoe's anger flare. That little accounting firm taught me enough to know when financial records don't add up. These transfers, Ryan, where is this money coming from? That's none of your business. It became my business when you used our joint account to pay for your hotel rooms with another woman. Ryan stood up abruptly. I'm done with this conversation. I came here to get some of my things, not to be interrogated. Then get your things and get out. But as Ryan headed toward the stairs, Zoe called after him. Just answer one question. Did you ever love me? Or was I just something convenient until someone better came along? Ryan stopped on the 3rd step and turned around. For a moment, his mask slipped, and Zoe saw something that might have been regret in his eyes. I thought I did, he said quietly. But love isn't enough when everything else is wrong. Those words hit harder than anything else he could have said. Zoe felt tears threatening again, but she blinked them back. You're right, she said. Love isn't enough. But respect is. And you never respected me enough to be honest. Ryan continued up the stairs without another word. Zoe could hear him moving around in their bedroom, opening drawers and closets. The sounds of her marriage being dismantled. Tasha appeared in the doorway. "How are you holding up?" "I'm angry," Zoe said, and was surprised by how calm her voice sounded. "I'm angrier than I've ever been in my life." "Good. Anger is useful. It means you're done being a victim." 20 minutes later, Ryan came back downstairs with 2 suitcases. He paused at the front door and looked back at Zoe. "For what it's worth, I am sorry it ended this way." "No, you're not," Zoe replied. "You're sorry you got caught. There's a difference." After Ryan left, Zoe and Tasha sat in the living room with their wine. The house felt bigger and quieter without him, but also somehow cleaner, like a bad smell had finally been aired out. "What's your next move?" Tasha asked. Zoe looked at all the documents spread across her dining room table. Evidence of betrayal, theft, and years of lies. She thought about Patricia's satisfied smile and Ryan's cold dismissal of their marriage. "I'm going to destroy them," she said quietly. "All of them? Every single one." Zoe took a sip of wine and felt something settle into place inside her chest. A coldness that matched the coldness in Patricia's eyes. "They want to play games? Fine. But they picked the wrong woman to mess with." The next morning, Zoe woke up with a clear head and a plan forming in her mind. She'd spent years being reactive, trying to please everyone and keep the peace. But that version of herself was gone, destroyed along with her marriage the night before. Her first stop was downtown to the office of Margaret Chin, a divorce lawyer Tasha had recommended. Margaret had a reputation for being ruthless when it came to protecting her clients' interests, especially women who'd been betrayed by their husbands. Margaret's office was on the 15th floor of a sleek building in the financial district. The waiting room was decorated in calming blues and grays, but there was nothing calming about the determination Zoe felt as she sat there. "Mrs. Thompson?" A woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and an expensive suit approached her. "I'm Margaret Chin. Please come back to my office." Margaret's office was impressive floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of the city, legal books lining the walls, and a massive desk that looked like it had seen plenty of battles. "Tasha Williams tells me you need help with a difficult divorce," Margaret said, settling behind her desk. "That's putting it mildly." Zoe pulled out the folder of documents she'd compiled. "My husband has been cheating on me for 8 months, and I think he's been stealing money to pay for it." Margaret spent the next hour reviewing everything Zoe had found. Her expression grew more interested with each document. "This is very good work," Margaret said finally. "You've documented everything properly. These financial discrepancies are concerning. The amounts suggest he's taking money from somewhere with significant resources. His family owns a law firm. He's a senior partner. That would explain the access. Mrs. Thompson, I need to ask you some difficult questions. Are you prepared for this to get ugly? Because if your husband is embezzling from his family's firm, this case could become very complicated." Zoe thought about Patricia's cold smile and Ryan's dismissive words. "Let it get ugly. I'm done being nice." Margaret smiled for the first time since Zoe had arrived. "Good. Nice women finish last in divorce court. Now let's talk strategy." They spent the next 2 hours going over Zoe's options. Margaret explained that she would need to hire a forensic accountant to trace the money trail and prove that Ryan had been stealing from the firm. She also recommended a private investigator to document the affair and gather more evidence of Ryan's deception. "What about alimony?" Zoe asked. "Given the length of your marriage and the evidence of his adultery, you should be entitled to significant support. Especially if we can prove he was using stolen money to fund his affair." "I don't want his money. I want justice." Margaret leaned back in her chair. "Mrs. Thompson, justice and revenge are 2 different things. Which one are you after?" Zoe considered the question carefully. "Both. Then we're going to get along just fine." After leaving Margaret's office, Zoe drove to the small accounting firm where she worked. She'd been there for 3 years, and while it wasn't glamorous, she'd learned a lot about financial analysis and fraud detection. Her boss, James Rodriguez, was a kind man in his 60s who treated his employees like family. When Zoe knocked on his office door, he immediately knew something was wrong. "What's happened?" he asked, gesturing for her to sit down. Zoe gave him the basic facts: the affair, the divorce papers, the suspicious financial records. She didn't mention her plans for revenge. "I might need some time off to deal with legal proceedings," she said. "I know it's not ideal timing." James waved away her concerns. "Take whatever time you need. But Zoe, can I give you some advice?" She nodded. "I've been in business for 40 years and I've seen a lot of financial fraud cases. If your husband is stealing from his family's firm, that's a federal crime. Be very careful about how you handle this information. What do you mean? I mean, make sure you're working with the right people. Don't try to expose him yourself. Let the lawyers and investigators handle it. Zoe thanked him and promised to be careful, but she was already thinking about how she could use her accounting skills to dig deeper into Ryan's finances. That afternoon, she met with the private investigator Margaret had recommended. His name was Tony Morrison, and he looked exactly like what Zoe had expected: middle-aged, slightly rumpled, with tired eyes that suggested he'd seen too much human ugliness. Cheating husband, huh? Tony said, reviewing the information Zoe had provided. Pretty standard case except for this financial stuff. That's not my area of expertise. I just need you to document the affair. Get photos, video, whatever evidence you can gather. How long do you want me to tail him? Zoe thought about it. 2 weeks. I need solid proof that the affair is ongoing. What about the woman? You want me to investigate her too? Brittany Peterson. She works as his secretary at his family's law firm. I want to know everything about her. Tony made notes on a yellow legal pad. Any particular reason? I want to know what I'm up against. And I want to know if she's involved in the financial crimes too. Smart thinking. A lot of these affairs involve the mistress helping with the theft. They get greedy and careless. After Tony left, Zoe sat in her car outside his office and called her bank. She needed to protect her own finances before Ryan could do any more damage. I need to remove my husband from our joint accounts, she told the customer service representative. I'm sorry, but both account holders need to be present to make changes to a joint account. Zoe had expected this. What if I open a new account in just my name and transfer my direct deposit there? That you can do over the phone right now. Within an hour, Zoe had moved her paycheck to a new account that Ryan couldn't access. It wasn't much money, but it was a start. She also opened a safety deposit box and moved all her important documents there, including copies of everything she'd found in Ryan's office. That evening, she sat in her kitchen making a list of everyone who would be affected when the truth about Ryan came out. His parents, his sister Rachel, the other partners at the law firm, the clients who trusted the family business with their money. For a moment, she felt a twinge of guilt. These people weren't all bad. Rachel had actually stood up for her at dinner. Harold seemed uncomfortable with the way Patricia had delivered the divorce papers. But then she remembered Ryan's cold voice saying, soon-to-be ex-wife, and Patricia's satisfied smile. She remembered the emails where Ryan had called her boring and complained about her not fitting in with his family. Her guilt disappeared. Zoe pulled out her phone and started making calls. If she was going to bring down Ryan and his family, she needed allies. People who had been hurt by them before or who had reasons to want to see them fall. She started with the other women she'd met at family events over the years. Women who had been married to Ryan's cousins or family friends. Women who had been on the receiving end of Patricia's cruelty and the family's snobbery. By the end of the night, she had a list of potential allies and a timeline for her plan. In 3 months, Patricia would be celebrating her 65th birthday with a huge party. All of Ryan's family, business associates, and social circle would be there. It would be the perfect opportunity to destroy them all at once. 2 weeks later, Tony Morrison called with news that made Zoe's stomach turn and her resolve strengthen at the same time. I've got everything you need, he said over the phone. Your husband and his girlfriend aren't even trying to hide it anymore. I've got photos of them going into hotels, coming out of restaurants, making out in his car. It's like they want to get caught. What about Brittany? What did you find out about her? That's where it gets interesting. Brittany Peterson isn't just some innocent secretary who got swept off her feet by your husband. She's got a history. Zoe gripped the phone tighter. What kind of history? She was fired from her last job for having an affair with a married partner at another law firm. Before that, she was let go from a financial services company for irregularities in client account management. That's code for theft, by the way. So she's done this before. Looks like it. And here's the kicker: she's been asking a lot of questions around the office about the firm's client accounts and investment procedures. Questions that have nothing to do with her job as a secretary. Zoe felt pieces of a puzzle clicking into place. She's helping him steal from the firm. That's my guess. I couldn't get access to their financial records, but I did manage to overhear a conversation between them at a restaurant. They were talking about the plan and how they need to wrap things up before anyone notices. Did they say anything specific? Something about transferring funds and getting out clean. Your husband seemed nervous, but the girlfriend was pushing him to move faster. After hanging up with Tony, Zoe stared out her kitchen window at the garden she'd planted when they first bought the house. She'd spent hours nurturing those plants, just like she'd spent years nurturing her marriage. Both had seemed so solid and permanent. But now she understood that Ryan hadn't just betrayed her emotionally, he was stealing from his own family to fund his affair with a woman who was probably using him to cover up her own crimes. The next morning, Zoe drove to a coffee shop across the street from Ryan's family law firm. She'd never paid much attention to the building before, but now she studied it with new eyes. It was impressive old brick with modern glass additions, taking up an entire city block. The kind of building that suggested money and established power. She was surprised when Rachel walked out of the building's front entrance. Ryan's sister looked tired and stressed, very different from her usual polished appearance. Zoe hesitated for a moment, then got out of her car and crossed the street. Rachel? Ryan's sister turned around and her face went through several emotions: surprise, guilt, and what might have been relief. Zoe, I wasn't expecting to see you. I was in the neighborhood. Can we talk? Rachel glanced back at the building, then nodded. There's a park around the corner. They walked in silence until they reached a small plaza with benches and trees. It was the kind of place where office workers ate lunch and fed pigeons. I owe you an apology, Rachel said as soon as they sat down. What happened at Mom's dinner was cruel. I should have said something. Why didn't you? Rachel sighed. Because I'm a coward. I've spent my whole life being afraid to stand up to my mother. But watching her destroy you like that, it was wrong. Did you know about the affair? I suspected something was going on. Ryan's been different lately. Distracted. And Mom's been making comments about him, finding someone more suitable. Rachel looked down at her hands. I'm sorry, Zoe. I really am. Zoe studied Ryan's sister. Rachel had always been the nicest member of his family, but she'd also been weak. Too willing to go along with whatever Patricia wanted to keep the peace. Rachel, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Okay. Have you noticed anything strange about the firm's finances lately? Any irregularities or questions from clients? Rachel's head snapped up. Why would you ask that? Because I think Ryan is stealing money from the firm to pay for his affair. The color drained from Rachel's face. That's impossible. Ryan would never. Would never what? Cheat on his wife? Lie to his family? Because he's already done both of those things. Rachel was quiet for a long time, staring at the fountain in the center of the plaza. Finally she spoke. There have been some questions. A few clients have called asking about discrepancies in their account statements. Dad keeps saying it's just clerical errors, but what? But the amounts are significant. And they all seem to be from accounts that Ryan manages personally. Zoe felt her pulse quicken. What kind of amounts? Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Maybe more. Dad's been working overtime trying to figure out where the money went. Does your father suspect Ryan? I don't think so. Dad still sees Ryan as his perfect son who can do no wrong. But the accountant is getting nervous and some of the other partners are starting to ask questions. Zoe leaned forward. Rachel, if this is true, it's not just about my marriage anymore. This is fraud. People could go to prison. You think Ryan would really do something like that? I think Ryan will do whatever he needs to do to get what he wants. And right now, what he wants is a new life with Brittany, regardless of who gets hurt. They sat in silence for a while, both lost in their own thoughts. Finally, Rachel spoke again. What are you going to do? I'm going to make sure the truth comes out. Zoe, please. I know Ryan hurt you, but if you expose this, it won't just destroy him. It'll destroy our whole family. The firm, Dad's reputation, everything we've built. Zoe looked at Rachel and felt a moment of sympathy. But then she remembered Patricia's cruel smile and Ryan's dismissive words. Your family destroyed me first, she said quietly. Your mother handed me divorce papers at my birthday dinner like it was a joke. Your brother stole from our joint accounts to pay for hotel rooms with another woman. None of you cared about destroying my life. I cared. I just didn't know how to stop it. Well, now you do. Help me. Rachel stared at her. Help you what? Help me get proof of what Ryan's been doing. Help me protect the innocent people who will lose money because of his greed. I can't betray my own family. Zoe stood up from the bench. You already did when you let them betray me. As she walked away, she heard Rachel call her name, but she didn't turn around. She had what she needed: confirmation that Ryan was stealing from the firm, and the knowledge that the family was already starting to fracture under the weight of his crimes. That evening, Zoe called Margaret Chen with an update. The private investigator was right, she told her lawyer. Ryan's girlfriend has a history of financial crimes, and there are discrepancies in client accounts at the firm. How do you know about the client accounts? His sister told me. She works at the firm too. Zoe, I need you to be very careful here. If you're right about this, we're talking about federal crimes. Embezzlement, wire fraud, possibly money laundering. This is way beyond a simple divorce case. What does that mean for me? It means we need to involve the authorities soon. But it also means that when this all comes out, your husband and his girlfriend are going to face serious prison time. Good. Margaret was quiet for a moment. I want you to think about this carefully. Once we go down this road, there's no going back. This will destroy not just your husband, but potentially his whole family. Zoe thought about Patricia's satisfied smile, Ryan's cold dismissal of their marriage, and all the years she'd spent trying to be good enough for people who never respected her. Then they should have thought of that before they decided to destroy me. Over the next month, Zoe became a different person. Gone was the woman who had spent years trying to please everyone and avoid conflict. In her place was someone calculating, patient, and absolutely determined to see justice done. She started with Linda Washington, a woman she'd met at several family events over the years. Linda had been married to one of Ryan's cousins until Patricia had orchestrated their divorce by spreading rumors about Linda's family background. The divorce had been nasty and Linda had lost almost everything. They met at a small cafe downtown, away from anywhere they might be recognized by the family. I was surprised to get your call, Linda said, stirring her coffee. Last I heard, you were still playing the role of perfect daughter-in-law. Things change, Zoe replied. I found out Ryan's been cheating on me. His mother gave me divorce papers as a birthday gift. Linda's eyes widened. Patricia did what now? Zoe told her the whole story, the affair, the financial crimes, the family's conspiracy against her. With each detail, Linda's expression grew more interested. So you're finally going to take them down, Linda said when Zoe finished. What do you need from me? Information. You were married into that family for 10 years. You know their secrets. Linda smiled, but it wasn't a pleasant expression. Honey, I know where everybody is buried in that family. Patricia's been covering up scandals for decades. What kind of scandals? Harold's gambling problem that nearly bankrupted them in the 80s. Ryan's uncle who got arrested for drunk driving and hit someone. Patricia paid the victim's family to keep quiet and got the charges reduced. Rachel's eating disorder that landed her in the hospital twice, which Patricia covered up by telling everyone she was studying abroad. Zoe listened carefully, filing away each piece of information. What about business issues? Oh, there have been plenty of those too. Client complaints that mysteriously disappeared. Lawyers who left the firm suddenly after asking too many questions about finances. Patricia runs that family like a crime syndicate, and she's very good at making problems go away. Until now. Until now, Linda agreed. But Zoe, you need to understand something. These people are dangerous when they're cornered. They have money, connections, and they're not above playing dirty. Let them play dirty. I'm done being nice. Linda leaned across the table. Good. Because if you're really going to do this, you need to do it right. No half measures. When you come for the king, you better not miss. They spent the next 2 hours planning. Linda knew which family members had grown tired of Patricia's control and might be willing to speak up. She also knew which business associates had suspected financial irregularities but had been too afraid to say anything. There's going to be a big family gathering in a few weeks, Linda said. Patricia's 65th birthday party. Everyone will be there: family, business partners, clients, social connections. If you want maximum impact, that's your moment. I was thinking the same thing. What's your plan? Zoe smiled. I'm going to give a toast. Next, Zoe reached out to former employees of the law firm. Toni Morrison had given her a list of people who had left under suspicious circumstances over the past few years. She met with 3 of them and their stories were remarkably similar. They had noticed financial irregularities, asked questions, and been pushed out of the firm before they could investigate further. I tried to tell Harold something was wrong, said Jennifer Park, a former junior associate. There were discrepancies in client trust accounts that didn't make sense. But every time I brought it up, Patricia would shut down the conversation and suddenly I'd be getting bad performance reviews. Did you suspect anyone specifically? Zoe asked. Ryan was the only one with access to those particular accounts. But I couldn't prove anything, and when I kept asking questions, they made my life so miserable that I quit. Would you be willing to testify about what you saw? Jennifer hesitated. That family has a lot of power. They could destroy my career. They're going to be destroyed first. I promise you that. By the end of the month, Zoe had gathered a small army of people who had been hurt by the Peterson family over the years. Former employees, ex-family members, business associates who had been cheated or manipulated. She also had something else, a forensic accountant named Robert Kim who had agreed to analyze the financial documents she'd collected. This is definitely embezzlement, Robert told her after reviewing everything. The pattern is clear: money being moved from client trust accounts into personal accounts, then used for personal expenses. We're talking about over $2 million. $2 million. Zoe felt dizzy. She'd known it was bad, but she hadn't realized the scope. Maybe more. This is just what I can trace from the documents you have. There could be other accounts, other schemes. Your husband and his girlfriend have been very busy. Is this enough to go to the police? More than enough. But Zoe, once you do this, there's no taking it back. This is going to be a huge scandal. People are going to go to prison. Zoe thought about the life she'd built with Ryan, the dreams they'd shared, the love she'd thought they had. Then she thought about Patricia's cruel smile and Ryan's cold dismissal of everything they'd been together. Good, she said. They deserve it. The next day she called Margaret Chen with an update. I have everything we need, she told her lawyer. Financial evidence, witness statements, expert analysis. It's time to move forward. Are you sure you're ready for this? Once we file these reports with the authorities, your life is going to change forever. My life already changed forever when they decided to destroy it. Now it's my turn. Margaret was quiet for a moment. All right then. Let's burn it all down. But Zoe had one more stop to make before she was ready to expose the truth. She needed to see Brittany Peterson face to face. It was time to meet the woman who had helped destroy her marriage and steal millions of dollars from innocent people. Zoe spent 3 days watching Brittany's routine before she made her move. The secretary left the law firm at exactly 5:30 every evening and walked 2 blocks to a trendy wine bar where she met friends or, increasingly often, waited for Ryan. On Thursday, Zoe got there first. She chose a table with a clear view of the entrance and ordered a glass of wine she didn't intend to drink. When Brittany walked in, Zoe was surprised by her first reaction. The woman was younger than she'd expected, maybe 26 or 27, with blonde hair and the kind of polished look that came from expensive clothes and professional styling. Brittany ordered at the bar and was looking around for a table when Zoe stood up and waved her over. Excuse me, are you Brittany Peterson? I think we might have a mutual friend. Brittany approached cautiously. Up close, she was prettier than her photos suggested, but there was something calculating in her eyes that reminded Zoe of Patricia. Do I know you? Brittany asked. I'm Zoe Thompson, Ryan's wife. The color drained from Brittany's face, but she recovered quickly. Oh, I wasn't expecting. Ryan said you two were separated. We are now. Please sit down. I think we should talk. Brittany looked like she wanted to run, but curiosity won out. She sat across from Zoe, gripping her wine glass like a weapon. What do you want? She asked. I want to understand. Help me make sense of this situation. I don't know what you mean. Zoe studied Brittany's face. She was a good liar, but not good enough to hide the fear in her eyes. I mean the affair, obviously, but also the money. The transfers from client accounts. The financial records that don't add up. Now Brittany looked genuinely panicked. I don't know anything about money. Really? Because I've been doing some research on your background. Your last job at Morrison & Associates ended pretty suddenly, didn't it? Something about irregularities in client account management. That was a misunderstanding. And the job before that? At Summit Financial? Another misunderstanding? Brittany started to stand up. I don't have to listen to this. No, you don't, Zoe said calmly. But you might want to hear what I have to say before you make any decisions about your future. Brittany hesitated, then sat back down. Here's what I think happened, Zoe continued. You targeted Ryan because you knew he had access to client money. You seduced him, convinced him that he deserved more than he was getting, and helped him figure out how to steal from his family's firm. The affair was just business for you. You're crazy. Ryan loves me. Maybe he does. But do you love him? Or do you just love what he can give you? Brittany's silence was answer enough. Zoe leaned forward. Here's what's going to happen. In 2 days, I'm filing a report with the FBI detailing everything I've uncovered about the embezzlement. Ryan is going to be arrested and so are you. The only question is how much trouble you're in. You can't prove anything. I have bank records, email correspondence, witness statements, and expert analysis from a forensic accountant. I can prove everything. Brittany's hands were shaking now. What do you want? I want you to tell me the truth. How much money did you steal? Where is it now? Are there other accounts, other schemes? I can't. If I tell you anything, they'll know I cooperated with you. They're going to know anyway when the FBI starts asking questions. But if you cooperate now, you might be able to make a deal. For a moment, Zoe thought Brittany might break down and confess everything. But then the woman's expression hardened and she stood up abruptly. You think you're so smart, but you don't understand what you're dealing with. The Peterson family has more power than you realize. If you try to destroy them, they'll destroy you first. They already tried that. It didn't work. Brittany grabbed her purse and headed for the door, but she turned back one more time. Ryan never loved you, she said loud enough for other patrons to hear. He told me you were boring and clingy and that marrying you was the biggest mistake of his life. The words stung, but Zoe kept her expression neutral. Then he'll be happy to be free of me. After Brittany left, Zoe sat alone at the table for another hour, thinking about everything that had led her to this moment. 6 months ago, she had been a different person, trusting, naive, willing to believe the best of people even when they showed her their worst. That woman was gone forever. Her phone buzzed with a text from Linda Washington. Patricia's birthday party is next Saturday. Black tie event at the country club. I can get you an invitation if you're ready to make your move. Zoe typed back, I'm ready. The next morning, she called Margaret Chen and told her to prepare all the legal documents for filing with the authorities. I want everything ready to go Monday morning, she said. But not before. Why wait until Monday? Because Saturday night I'm going to a birthday party. She also called Toni Morrison and asked him to attend the party as her date. I need a witness to what happens, she explained. Someone who can document everything. This sounds like it's going to be quite a show. It will be. Bring your camera. Finally, she called the small accounting firm where she worked and gave her boss James Rodriguez a heads up. Things are about to get very public, she warned him. There might be media attention. Are you sure you want to go through with this? He asked. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. That weekend, Zoe went shopping for a dress. Not just any dress, something spectacular. Something that would make everyone at the party remember her. She found it at an upscale boutique downtown. A midnight blue gown that fit her like it had been made for her. It was elegant, sophisticated, and powerful. The kind of dress that commanded attention and respect. Looking at herself in the fitting room mirror, Zoe barely recognized the woman staring back at her. Gone was the girl who had tried so hard to fit into the Peterson family's world. In her place was someone who looked like she could conquer that world. Saturday evening couldn't come fast enough. The morning of Patricia's birthday party, Zoe woke up feeling strangely calm. 4 weeks she'd been planning and preparing for this moment, and now that it was here, she felt a sense of peace she hadn't experienced in months. She spent the morning at a spa, getting her hair and makeup done. She wanted to look perfect for what was about to happen. When she looked in the mirror afterward, she saw a woman who was beautiful, confident, and dangerous. Her phone rang as she was leaving the spa. It was Rachel. Zoe, please don't come tonight, Rachel said without preamble. I'm sorry? I know you got an invitation to Mom's party. Linda Washington told me she arranged it. Please don't come. Whatever you're planning, it's going to destroy everyone. Zoe got into her car before responding. Rachel, your family destroyed me first. Did you think there wouldn't be consequences? I've been trying to get Dad to look into the financial issues you mentioned. I think I can convince him to confront Ryan quietly, handle this within the family. It's too late for that. It's not too late. We can make this right without destroying everyone. Zoe felt a momentary flicker of sympathy for Rachel, who was genuinely trying to do the right thing even though she was years too late. Rachel, your brother stole over $2 million from client accounts. That's not something that can be handled quietly within the family. People's life savings are gone. There was silence on the other end of the line. 2 million. Rachel whispered. Maybe more. And your mother knew. She's been covering for him, just like she's covered up everything else over the years. I can't believe Mom wouldn't. Your mother handed me divorce papers at my birthday dinner because she wanted to humiliate me. She's not the person you think she is. Rachel was crying now. Please, Zoe. I'm begging you. Don't do this at the party. There has to be another way. There was another way. Your family chose not to take it when they decided I was disposable. Zoe hung up and turned off her phone. She didn't want any more calls or texts that might weaken her resolve. She spent the afternoon preparing her presentation. She'd created a slideshow that she planned to project during the party, showing bank statements, emails, and photographic evidence of Ryan's crimes and affair. Margaret Chen had helped her organize everything in a way that would be easily understood by a room full of non-lawyers. At 5 o'clock, Toni Morrison arrived at her house to pick her up. He cleaned up well. His usual rumpled appearance had been replaced by a sharp tuxedo that made him look almost distinguished. "You look stunning," he said when she opened the door. "And terrifying. I'm not sure which is more impressive. Both are intentional." The drive to the country club took 20 minutes. As they pulled into the circular driveway, Zoe could see that Patricia had spared no expense. The building was decorated with thousands of white lights, and uniformed valets were parking luxury cars. "Last chance to change your mind," Tony said as they got out of the car. "I'm not changing my mind." The party was already in full swing when they entered the main ballroom. Zoe estimated about 200 people were in attendance: family members, business associates, politicians, and members of the city's social elite. Everyone was dressed in their finest, champagne was flowing, and the conversation was animated. Zoe spotted Ryan almost immediately. He was across the room talking to a group of men she recognized as partners from other law firms. He looked handsome in his tuxedo, relaxed and confident, like a man who thought he'd gotten away with everything. Brittany was there too, wearing a red dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. She was standing near the bar with a group of younger women, playing the role of Ryan's new girlfriend to perfection. Patricia was holding court near the birthday cake, accepting congratulations and compliments from a steady stream of well-wishers. She looked elegant in a silver gown, every inch the matriarch of a powerful family. Harold was mingling with business associates, probably discussing deals and investments. He looked tired, older than Zoe remembered. She wondered if the stress of the financial irregularities was getting to him. "Quite a party," Tony observed, adjusting the small camera hidden in his jacket pocket. "It's about to get more interesting." Zoe moved through the crowd, smiling and making small talk with people she'd known for years. Many seemed surprised to see her, given that she and Ryan were separated, but she explained that she wouldn't miss Patricia's milestone birthday. Linda Washington appeared at her elbow. "You clean up nice, girl. You ready for this?" "More than ready. The AV equipment is all set up. I told them you wanted to give a special presentation about Patricia's contributions to the community. They think it's going to be a tribute video." In a way it is. At 8 o'clock, the MC called for everyone's attention. It was time for the birthday toasts and speeches. Several people gave brief remarks about Patricia's generosity, her leadership in various charities, and her devotion to family. Then the MC announced, "And now we have a special presentation from someone who knows Patricia very well, her daughter-in-law, Zoe Thompson." Zoe walked to the front of the room as the lights dimmed and a large screen descended from the ceiling. She could feel hundreds of pairs of eyes watching her, including Ryan's. He looked confused and slightly worried, but not panicked. He still didn't realize what was coming. "Thank you all for being here tonight," Zoe began, her voice clear and strong. "I've known the Peterson family for many years, and I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to share some insights into who they really are." The first slide appeared on the screen, a photo of Ryan and Brittany kissing outside a hotel. The room went completely silent. "This is Ryan Peterson, Patricia's son and my husband, with his secretary Brittany Peterson. This photo was taken 3 weeks ago, during what Ryan told me was a business dinner." Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd. Zoe could see Patricia's face turning white with shock and rage. "But the affair is just the beginning of the story," Zoe continued as the next slide appeared, bank statements showing transfers from client accounts. "This is evidence that Ryan has been embezzling money from his family's law firm to pay for his affair. Over $2 million stolen from clients who trusted the Peterson family with their life savings." The room erupted in shocked voices. People were pulling out their phones, taking pictures of the screen. Ryan was pushing through the crowd, trying to get to the front. But Zoe wasn't finished. "And this is evidence that Patricia Peterson knew about the theft and helped cover it up." The final series of slides showed emails between Patricia and Ryan discussing how to hide the missing money and blame it on accounting errors. By now, Ryan had reached the front of the room. His face was red with anger and panic. "Turn this off," he shouted. "This is all lies." But it was too late. The damage was done. The room was in chaos, with people talking loudly, making phone calls, and demanding explanations. Zoe looked directly at Patricia, who was standing frozen near the birthday cake, her face a mask of shock and fury. "Happy birthday, Patricia," Zoe said into the microphone. "I hope it's everything you deserve." The ballroom erupted into chaos. Guests were shouting questions, pulling out their phones to record what was happening, and demanding explanations from the Peterson family. Patricia stood frozen near her elaborate birthday cake, her face cycling between shock, rage, and something that might have been fear. Ryan lunged toward the AV equipment, trying to shut off the presentation, but Toni Morrison stepped in his way. "I don't think so, buddy," Toni said calmly, his hand resting on Ryan's chest. "This is all fake." Ryan shouted to the crowd. "My wife is having a breakdown. She's making up lies because she can't handle our divorce." But the evidence spoke for itself. The bank statements, the email correspondence, the photos of him with Brittany, it was all undeniably real. Several people in the crowd were already on their phones, likely calling lawyers and accountants. Harold Peterson finally found his voice. "Everyone please," he called out, his face ashen. "There's been some kind of mistake. These allegations are—" "The only mistake was trusting your son with client money," interrupted James Hoffman, a longtime client whose account statements were displayed on the screen. "That's my retirement fund he stole." More clients began speaking up, their voices angry and frightened. Years of trust had been shattered in a matter of minutes. Patricia finally snapped out of her shock. She marched toward Zoe, her eyes blazing with fury. "You vindictive little, how dare you come into my home and spread these lies?" "Your home," Zoe replied calmly. "This is the country club, Patricia. And these aren't lies. They're bank records and legal documents. You're just angry because Ryan finally realized what a mistake he made marrying you." The room had gone quiet again, everyone straining to hear the confrontation between the two women. "You're right," Zoe said, her voice carrying clearly across the ballroom. "I'm angry. I'm angry that your son is a thief. I'm angry that you helped him steal from innocent people. And I'm angry that you thought you could destroy my life without consequences. Ryan never stole anything. He's a Peterson. We don't—" "You don't what? Steal? What? Cheat?" Zoe laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Your precious son has been doing all three for months." Brittany, who had been trying to edge toward the exit, was blocked by several angry clients who recognized her from the photos. Her red dress, which had seemed so elegant an hour ago, now made her look like a target. "Is it true?" demanded Mrs. Chin, an elderly woman whose husband had been a client of the firm for 30 years. "Did you help him steal our money?" "I don't know what you're talking about," Brittany stammered, but her guilty expression told a different story. Rachel appeared at Zoe's side, tears streaming down her face. "Zoe, please. Can't we handle this privately? All these people deserve to know the truth," Zoe replied. "Their money is gone, Rachel. Your brother stole it to pay for hotel rooms and jewelry for his girlfriend. But the firm, our reputation. Should have thought of that before you let your mother turn my birthday dinner into a public humiliation." Harold was now surrounded by angry clients and business associates, all demanding answers he didn't have. His face was gray with shock, and he seemed to have aged 10 years in the past hour. "I don't understand any of this," he kept repeating. "There must be some explanation." "The explanation is that your son is a criminal," called out another client. "And apparently so is your wife." Patricia whirled around to face the crowd. "How dare you? I've given 30 years of my life to this community. I've served on every charity board, supported every cause, and covered up every crime," Zoe interjected. "The emails prove you knew about the theft, Patricia. You helped Ryan hide the missing money. Those emails are fake. Anyone can create fake emails." "Then explain the timestamps," Zoe said, advancing the presentation to show the metadata. "Explain the IP addresses that trace back to your home computer. Explain why you were researching offshore bank accounts the same week $200,000 disappeared from the Morrison Trust account." The crowd gasped again. This was worse than they'd imagined. Toni Morrison was quietly moving through the crowd, capturing everything on his hidden camera. The shocked faces, the angry confrontations, the moment when Patricia Peterson's carefully constructed facade finally cracked completely. "You want to know the truth?" Patricia screamed, her composure finally shattered. "Fine. Yes, I knew Ryan was taking some money. But it wasn't stealing, it was money that should have been his anyway. He works twice as hard as anyone else at that firm, and his father never appreciated him." The admission sent another shock wave through the crowd. Harold looked like he'd been slapped. "Patricia, what are you saying?" he whispered. "I'm saying our son deserves better than what you were giving him. So when he found someone who actually appreciated him, I helped him get what he was owed." "By stealing from clients?" Harold's voice was rising now. "By stealing from people who trusted us with their life savings? By taking what should have been Ryan's in the first place?" The room was completely silent now, everyone stunned by Patricia's confession. Even Ryan looked shocked by his mother's words. Zoe felt a moment of satisfaction, but it was overshadowed by sadness for all the innocent people who had been hurt by this family's greed and selfishness. "Well," she said into the microphone, "I think that settles any questions about what really happened here." Sirens could be heard in the distance, growing louder. Linda Washington appeared at Zoe's elbow. "I called the police 20 minutes ago," she said quietly. "Figured they'd want to be here for the confessions." The police arrived just as Ryan made another desperate attempt to escape. He pushed through the crowd toward the back exit, but several of the male guests blocked his path. Harold's business partner, a man named William Torres, grabbed Ryan's arm. "You're not going anywhere until this gets sorted out," William said firmly. "Let go of me. I haven't done anything wrong." $2 million in client money says otherwise, William replied. When the police entered the ballroom, they found a scene of complete chaos. Angry clients demanding justice, family members arguing with each other, and Patricia Peterson standing in the middle of it all, still ranting about how her son deserved better. The lead detective, a woman named Lieutenant Sarah Park, quickly took control of the situation. "Ladies and gentlemen, I need everyone to remain calm while we sort this out," she announced. "Anyone who has information about financial crimes at Peterson and Associates needs to speak with my officers." A line of clients immediately formed, all eager to report their losses and demand justice. As the police began taking statements, Zoe found herself standing alone near the presentation screen. The slideshow was still running, cycling through images of bank statements and stolen money. Margaret Chin appeared beside her, having arrived with the police. "How do you feel?" her lawyer asked. Zoe looked around the room at the chaos she'd created. Patricia was being questioned by detectives, her silver gown wrinkled and her makeup ruined. Ryan was in handcuffs, finally understanding that his charmed life was over. Brittany was crying as she gave her statement to another officer. Harold sat slumped in a chair, looking like a broken man as he realized that his family's reputation and business were destroyed forever. "I feel like justice is finally being served," Zoe said quietly. 3 months later, Zoe sat in a coffee shop downtown reading the morning newspaper. The headline on the business section made her smile. "Peterson and Associates closes permanently following embezzlement scandal." The article detailed how Ryan Peterson had pled guilty to embezzling $2.3 million from client accounts, and how his mother Patricia had been charged as an accessory for helping to cover up the crimes. Brittany Peterson, she'd legally changed her name after the affair began, had also pled guilty and was cooperating with authorities to recover the stolen money. Ryan had been sentenced to 8 years in federal prison. Patricia got 3 years for her role in the cover-up. Brittany received 2 years and full restitution to the victims. Harold Peterson had avoided criminal charges, but the stress of the scandal had forced him into early retirement. The family law firm, built over 3 decades, was gone forever. Zoe's phone buzzed with a text from Margaret Chin. "Final divorce papers are ready for your signature. You're officially free." Free. The word had never sounded so beautiful. Her phone rang and she was surprised to see Rachel's name on the caller ID. They hadn't spoken since the night of the birthday party. "Hello, Rachel." "Hi, Zoe. I hope it's okay that I'm calling." "Of course. How are you holding up?" "Better than I expected, actually. It's been hard but also liberating? Does that make sense?" It did make sense. Zoe had learned that sometimes the truth, even when it was painful, was better than living with lies. "I wanted to thank you," Rachel continued. "I know that probably sounds crazy given everything that happened, but you did the right thing. People deserve to know the truth." "How's your father?" "He's actually doing better now. The stress of covering up Ryan's crimes was eating him alive, even though he didn't fully realize what was happening. He started a small consulting practice, just him and one associate. Says he's happier than he's been in years." "I'm glad to hear that. Zoe, I need to apologize. For not standing up to my mother sooner. For not protecting you when I should have. For being a coward. You were caught in an impossible situation, Rachel. I don't blame you for trying to protect your family. Even after everything they did to you? Even after everything. Family loyalty isn't a bad thing, Rachel. But it can't come at the expense of doing what's right." They talked for another few minutes, and by the end of the call, Zoe felt like she'd gained something she'd never expected. A genuine friendship with her former sister-in-law. After hanging up, Zoe walked the few blocks to her new office. 3 weeks after the scandal broke, she'd been offered a position at a prestigious accounting firm that specialized in fraud investigation. The salary was double what she'd been making at her old job, and the work was challenging and meaningful. Her new boss, Patricia Williams, no relation to Ryan's mother, had hired her specifically because of her experience uncovering the Peterson embezzlement scheme. "You have a natural talent for following money trails," Patricia had told her during the interview. "And more importantly, you have the courage to speak up when you find something wrong." Zoe's new apartment was small but beautiful, with large windows and a view of the city park. She'd decorated it exactly how she wanted, without worrying about what anyone else would think. For the first time in years, she felt truly at home in her own space. As she settled into her new life, Zoe reflected on everything that had changed since that terrible birthday dinner. She'd lost a husband, a marriage, and what she'd thought was her future. But she'd gained something more valuable: self-respect. She'd learned that she was stronger than she'd ever imagined. Strong enough to uncover the truth, present it to the world, and face the consequences. Strong enough to start over completely and build something better. Her phone buzzed with a text from Toni Morrison. "Saw the newspaper article this morning. Drinks to celebrate your freedom?" She texted back, "Rain check. I'm having dinner with Tasha tonight. We're celebrating the fact that I finally learned to fight back." That evening, as Zoe got ready for dinner with Tasha, she caught her reflection in the bathroom mirror. The woman looking back at her was different from the one who had opened those divorce papers 6 months ago. Her dark brown eyes were bright with confidence instead of hollow with hurt. Her smile was genuine instead of forced. She was finally, completely, authentically herself. Her doorbell rang and she opened it to find a delivery man with a large bouquet of flowers. "Zoe Thompson? That's me." The flowers were beautiful white roses and lilies arranged with greenery. She opened the card, expecting them to be from Tasha or maybe her new boss congratulating her on the successful resolution of the case. Instead, the card read, "Thank you for having the courage to tell the truth. You saved my family's life savings." The Hoffman family. Tears pricked at Zoe's eyes, but they were good tears this time. Happy tears. Tears of satisfaction at a job well done. Over the past 3 months, she'd received dozens of similar messages from the Peterson firm's former clients. People who had been able to recover most of their stolen money because of her actions. Retirees who could now afford their medications. Families who hadn't lost their children's college funds after all. That was worth more than any revenge. Her phone rang one final time before she left for dinner. The caller ID showed a number she didn't recognize, but something made her answer it. "Hello? Zoe? This is Ryan." Her blood went cold. "How did you get this number?" "I'm calling from prison. I'm allowed one phone call a week and I needed to talk to you. We have nothing to talk about. Please don't hang up. I know I have no right to ask, but I need to say something." Zoe almost ended the call, but curiosity stopped her. "You have 2 minutes. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't mean anything now, and I know it doesn't fix what I did, but I needed you to know that I'm sorry." "For which part? The affair? The theft? The public humiliation? There's so much to choose from." "For all of it. But mostly for not seeing what I had when I had it. You were the best thing in my life and I threw it away for nothing. You threw it away for $2 million and a secretary with a criminal record." Ryan was quiet for a moment. "Brittany left me, you know. The minute I got arrested, she disappeared. Turned out she'd been stealing from me too, taking money from the accounts I'd set up. I was just another mark to her. I'm not surprised. My mother, she doesn't take visitors anymore. She says the family name is ruined forever and it's my fault. My father won't even speak to me." Zoe felt a flicker of sympathy, but it passed quickly. "You made your choices, Ryan. Now you get to live with them." "I know. I just wanted you to know that I realize now what I lost. You were loyal, honest, loving, everything I should have valued. And I was too stupid and selfish to see it." "Yes, you were. Are you happy now?" The question surprised her. She thought about her new job, her new apartment, her growing friendship with Rachel, the thank you cards from grateful clients, the peace she felt when she woke up each morning. "Yes," she said simply. "I am. I'm glad. You deserve to be happy." "Ryan." "Yeah. Don't call me again. This chapter of our lives is closed." "I understand. Goodbye, Zoe." "Goodbye." She hung up and immediately blocked the number. Then she grabbed her purse and headed out to meet Tasha. The restaurant was crowded and noisy, filled with the sounds of laughter and conversation. Tasha was already there, wearing a bright red dress and a smile that could light up the room. "There's my favorite detective," Tasha called out as Zoe approached the table. "How does it feel to be completely, totally, absolutely free?" Zoe sat down and raised the glass of champagne Tasha had already ordered for her. "It feels like victory," she said. They clinked glasses, and as Zoe sipped the champagne, she thought about how different her life looked now compared to 6 months ago. Then she'd been defined by her relationship to other people: Ryan's wife, Patricia's daughter-in-law, someone trying desperately to fit into a world that didn't want her. Now she was just Zoe. Independent, successful, respected, and strong. She'd learned to fight for herself and others, to speak truth to power, and to never again settle for less than she deserved. So, Tasha said, interrupting her thoughts, what's next for the woman who brought down the Peterson empire? Zoe smiled, thinking about the fraud cases waiting on her desk, the new life she was building, and all the possibilities that lay ahead. Whatever I want, she said. Absolutely whatever I want. And for the first time in years that felt like enough. More than enough. Felt like everything.